Good afternoon. Thank you for attending the webinar. Today, I'm just going to focus on the features that we've added to Orbigo for COVID-19. Now, some of the data we've received is from New South Wales government. So the source is New South Wales government. We don't know, we don't have data for the rest of the states, but I just wanted to preview some of the features that we're going to bring in. So I'm going to get started. This is the welcome screen for Orbigo. In the release versions, we won't have the welcome screen. We'll go straight into the application itself, and when people start to use the application, at that point they can then make changes. They can log in and register. So that would allow us to move very quickly and join. So we've got a couple of things here. We can actually join with Google or with Facebook, and we'll also bring in LinkedIn in new versions as we move forward. So today I'm just going to log in with my Google account. So I'm just going to select the Google account, and then that just comes up pretty quickly. And in the new release versions, for those people who have actually got face recognition for sign-ins, they can do so. So here we have the application as I've signed in, and I've got the different layers. So you can see it's brought me into this layer and of the map, and I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit. You can see that there's 13 places to eat and 1 place to stay. This is the weather report. It's currently 27 degrees and Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. So as I squeeze out, just going to squeeze a little bit more, and I can now begin to see suburbs and localities coming through. The default feature for COVID-19 is actually based on locality, because this is what the data that we've been given. So let me just bring that out, and I'll go into my localities on the application. So now I can see my localities coming through. And if I select a locality, it will paint the region, and you can see that in the bottom of the screen. And it'll also tell me the name of the region. Okay, so it'll actually give me the name of the region, and now you can actually see in the top, you can see the name of the region, and also this icon here. Now that is the health icon, and if I select that, it will tell me that there's been, in this region locality, there's been no new cases, 65 total active cases, and the total number of recovered and deceased is not available at this stage. And then it says total cases of 3,422. Now those numbers are not correct, but they will be corrected in the new release versions as we move forward. So this region has a caution region because of the figures that we have at the moment. We can change those the caution rating, and so the three that we have is a yellow, green, and red. So if I select my Penrith, so here's Penrith. Let me just look at the figures. So it says total active cases from Penrith is 182. Once again, this data is from New South Wales, and I'm just going to have a look at bring in a different area. Let's see if I can type in an area where I'm pretty sure there's not been any Blue Mountains. Okay, so here, if I have a look at Blue Mountains and I'll bring it up, I should be able to see that information coming in. And okay. Okay, I think I need to select it, so it needs to be selected on the map. So I'm just going to have a look and see if I can select it as we go. There it is. There's Wollondilly, and let me see if I can bring that up. Okay, so I've got Camden George, that's 26. So let me just choose another area. Let's go to middle of Australia. See if we can find some localities there in the Northern Territory. Okay, so no, I can't seem to find anything. Let me just have a look down here in Victoria. Okay, so just bringing up this region now. Now this is Refton. Okay, so Refton, it's just waiting to see. Okay, no figures are coming up for that at the moment. Okay, all right, so let me just quickly go back to where I am, and that's it. And I can see the Hill Shire, so let's see if I have anything in Ku-ring-gai. Okay, so Ku-ring-gai says not available, so there's no cases that it's aware of, and so it's still showing yellow, but in the new releases we will fix that, so it'll actually should show green, because if there's no records for that, and we are at the Hill Shire as well, and already we're seeing some cases there, but once again that's been altered by the data that we've been given, and that possibly is the way that the information is built. Okay, so now I'm going to select, say, Sydney, and as we move forward, one of the things that we will be doing with Orbigo is to put in, we're going to be running personal health bubbles, and the way that a personal health bubble will work will be similar to the way that we do classifications of regions. So as you can see, I've got a couple of regions up here, and if whatever the region's rating is, should automatically be applied to the residences. And so if the rating is green, then all the residences should automatically be given a green rating for that suburb. If it's yellow, then they should automatically be given a yellow, and if it's red, then they should automatically given red, and then applied to the policies going forward. We do have the ability to do tracking, and we can actually track people as they move in and out of regions. Now, the way that we currently have those configured, it will be done as an opt-in basis. So we're exploring probably the best way to actually do this, but if people accept that they would like to participate and ensure that their health is maintained, one of the things that we will be doing is to put a rating according to locality where people live, but also where they visit. So if somebody goes, and this will also appear in their profile, so we will add this to the profiles, and when people there'll be a health risk, and then they'll actually show potentially how many how in the last couple of weeks, whether or not they've been in green regions or red regions or yellow regions. It'll also help them develop an understanding of what risk that they've actually given to themselves through that time. We can also apply notifications. So notifications will help people understand whether or not they are about to enter into a particular region or not. So once again, that is also being developed and will be applicable. Because we are geo-zoned, we can go into very, very small layers, depending on the data that we will have access to. And the more data that we have, the greater the accuracy and the more granular we can actually create the effectiveness of the digital health bubbles. Orbigo is designed so that it doesn't matter whether or not we're talking COVID this time, or we're talking it could be food poisoning, or it could be other types of potential risks. So we've had fires in we've had bushfires in Australia, and people have had camping trips. So we could actually provide a risk rating per region, and so when people look at the different regions, we can actually see whether or not there's a risk rating associated with that. Okay, so that's how we've built, and that's the concept of the health bubble. The digital health bubble, we can, as I said, we can track the way that people move around. We can track it by regions, and we can send notifications. But depending on the risk rating, we can also add, we can change the tracking policy. So it may be that we might only, for people who live in green regions, we might only track them for 2 weeks. But people in yellow regions, we can that their tracking may be during the extent of which that region is yellow. But if somebody goes into a yellow region from a green region, maybe one of the policies would be to track their movements for 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks. And that tracking can stay on people's mobile phones, and if there's no alterations to their personal status, then over a certain time that they can change back again. So if for instance somebody goes from a green region into a yellow region, and then they've potentially caught the virus, and 2 weeks later they go into their GP, and their GP says, yes, you've contracted it. Well, all the data is there. It can through the contact tracing, they can backtrack exactly potentially where they've caught them, and they can be notified. The other thing that we're looking at doing is we're looking at adding Bluetooth as well. So and that gives us even further granularity. So so from a distance point of view, we can come in from country level to state level to locality level to suburb level, even to the individual businesses, and locate where those are. And this can be applied country to country, so there's no restrictions on geography. The data, as I said, can remain on people's phones until such time as their situations change. So now what I'll do is some of these are all pre-released. You can see down the bottom of your screen, you can see that there's in this area, there's 3 places to see, 79 places to eat, 1 place to do, and places to stay. We can expand these clusters and see further as we go down. We'll start to see images of street levels. So we're at level 17.0. And then we can go down even further and 17.5. And then at 18.1, we now 18.0, we now start to see the names of the places coming up. So remember that we're actually trying to manage your entire experience on a 5.9 inch screen. And now if I wanted to, I can just quickly add this, have a look at Funky Pies. I can expand that and it'll give me some details. Funky Pies is located, etc., at this point. And I can add Funky Pies as a favorite. So you'll see the heart adds now to my favorites list. And the effect of adding Funky Pies to my favorites list will give me notifications, but also give me a better loyalty experience, and that's where we actually start to bring in rewards points. Okay, so I'm just going to add Funky Pies to my trip, and that's it. I've just added it, and you can see up the top I've now got Funky Pies is added to my trip basket, which is the 0, 1 up the top. And you'll also see that I've got a yellow icon, which is my experience points, and that will come through in the next in the commercial release. And I'll experience that. And then I can add, say, Lock, Stock and Barrel, and I can add that to my trip as well. So I've added now 2 things to my trip. It's that simple. And if I wanted to, I can, let's just say, go down to Melbourne. Melbourne's one of my favorite places. Okay, so I'll just go straight to Melbourne. And if I look at Melbourne, okay, so now it's telling me the temperature in Melbourne at the moment is 22 degrees. On a Friday afternoon, it's the same time zone. It's 4:15. Okay, there is a little bit of a delay between the time as it pulls the information across. Now I'm going to add another thing here, and I'm just going to add this to my trip as well. So that's my trip, and I can quickly amend my start date, so I can change my start date. So let's just say I'm going to update my start date from 29th to the 30th. So I'm going to update my dates, and I can actually change the number of people, my children. I can add 2 children if I want, or take them away. So now I have no children and I've got 2 adults. And the effect of that will be it will have an impact on your budget. So the budget feature is coming up. It's still being developed, but this is what a budget would look like, and we can break the budgets in by day. So this is all based on my current trip basket at the moment, and I haven't scheduled my trip yet, but I've now just put a lot of things in there that I might want to do over the course of the next few days. And then I would like to add my trip here, and as you can see, I can now put my trips in, and there's my Funky Pies, and it tells me it's 22.8 kilometers from where I am. I will also be able to make changes to my trip. So here, if I was to just save this, okay, so save my trip. Sorry, we're still working on a beta version. Okay, but if I wanted to, I can actually change the order in which I appear or I go on these trips. So you can see now I've changed it from 1, 2, and 3. The arrival times will change. You will also be able to amend those, and there you can see that I can make changes to my mode of travel between locations. So where I'm actually in an area of close proximity, I would be walking. So here it's got, if I was driving from this point, it would take me back to Sydney. It would take me about 8 hours. Okay, so from this, if I was at Waverley, then it would take me 38 minutes to the first location, and then to the second location, and there's my end trip. Now those features are all will come up in the Orbigo, and then I can save that. Sorry, that's not there. So otherwise I'd show you how those features work. So There's also the events as well, and those events per localities is coming up. The new features we're putting in is bulletin boards per location. So there's going to be a lot of features focused on tourism, focused on getting businesses up and running. There is a new portals for businesses to actually claim their business and to actually register through Orbigo, as well as make offers to how that operates. So that's just a really quick view of what's coming up. I will, as we continue to add and roll out new features so next week there's a number of features that will be coming through. And as we add those, you will see that a lot of these will then start to have an impact on potentially the economies opening up. And we can we can ensure that it's as people travel around, it's safe to do so. There's an assurance by which then they can actually travel between locations to locations. We can we can encourage corporates to download this. And so large organisations, health and safety may be a priority for them, especially with their resources, and they don't want to get locked down for any particular reason. So they may want to know that if their people intend to travel around, that they're going to travel into the green corridors so that they don't go into areas where there is potentially a higher risk rating for the regions that they actually travel to. So that's really just a very quick overview. We do have other little features coming through. These are the satellite maps and hybrid maps. So this will then give people a perspective of the area and then of where they're traveling at. So that is the end of today's session. But if you would like to comment or you'd like to contact, there's an email. You can either do so via email or you can give me a call directly, and I'm more than happy to take people through the Orbigo experience. And I will, as we open up the new features for management of localities by governments, and there's a separate portals for that, so they can actually upload and put in features. I will put those things through. Okay, and I'll run that session next week. Okay, so thank you all for coming through today, and I look forward to talking to everyone later. Stay safe.